Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Market Report brought to you by Mike Bjork. Today is Friday, day before Labor Day weekend here. Also, the big day this week for the economic data that we're looking for, which is the Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers for the non-farm payrolls. So let's jump right into it. We have non-farm payrolls for the month of August. So we had 275,000 new jobs created back last month in July. We have a forecast of about 170. Some even had it higher at 180,000. New jobs are expected. And it came in at 151,000, so less than expected here. As I kind of said yesterday, I thought it would be close, but kind of maybe not quite as high, and I'm kind of right on that. But we'll touch base on that, the reaction of that here shortly here. Unemployment remained the same, so we had a 4.9 percent back in July, and the forecast was supposed to dip a little bit, but it didn't. It just stayed at 4.9%. And then average hour earnings, so still went up, but just not at the rate as they were hoping. So back in July it was nice at 0.3%. Forecast was supposed to be at 0.2% and came in a dismal 0.1%. So not as good as what we would like to have seen it, but people are still making slightly more than what they're expecting. Factory orders, this is a really good one. We had a contraction back in factory orders back in June at a negative pullback of 0.5%. Forecast supposed to get 2.3%, but it didn't come quite to expectations, but it did go up to 1.9%, which is the highest we've seen since last October. So good, decent numbers right there overall here. So let's kind of jump into it. So stock market's taken off. The Dow is actually up over 100. They really took off after the factory orders came in. Basically, here's what it is: the jobs numbers. It was good enough for the stock market, but basically what all the minds and concerns were was a possible rate hike in September or even possibly this year, because this is the last job numbers that will be before the Fed reconvenes in around September 22nd, I think it is, for the next meeting. And typically they've been saying the job numbers as well as the inflation are going up to the levels that they wanted, and they don't think these numbers are quite the numbers that's going to push them to go ahead and raise rates in the September meeting. So the Fed Fund futures did drop a bit, dropped down to like 12% from about 30%. So they didn't really elaborate on December, but for September, they're basically saying it's very little chance of them raising rates in September. So again, we'll have to wait and see. There's a few economists that don't necessarily agree with it because they weren't bad numbers. They're definitely good for a stock market. Okay. And they weren't that far. They were off a little bit, but not bad. It's not like they came in like in May, like 11,000 new jobs created. There's still over 100,000 jobs created, or even over 150,000 new jobs created. So let's take a look at the bond market. So we're down a little bit right now. We're down about 7 basis points from where we left off. So here's where the basis would be compared to here. So we're down about 7 basis points. As we see here, we were way up. And of course, when the market data came out, we pulled way back down here as stock market started heating up here. But the good thing is this. Remember what we were talking about this past week here. We had a market starting off here, and we started off over here, and we started off over here. But today, instead of going down lower as it is, we start up here. Now we're down, but we start up here. So the trend line may not, we may kind of broken that trend, which is nice, and go on a sideways pattern, which will be okay. So that kind of sets us up for next week. With data for next week, so it might help us out, especially going into a long weekend here with the Labor Day weekend here. We could be okay for going into next week and maybe break this trend here, go a sideways pattern in here, which could potentially bring this up or down. So depending upon what the data comes in next week. But anyways, just that was the positive out of this, even though we're down for 7 basis points. Alright folks, you guys have a great weekend here. I hope you guys enjoy yourselves. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Be safe this weekend. Bye-bye.